idea of panettone has been around since the ancient Roman times, when cakes were actually leavened naturally with things like yeast and sweetened with honey. The origins of panettone go back to the 15th century, when the Duke of Milan hosted an extravagant Christmas banquet. And unfortunately, during this banquet, the dessert got burnt. So a young and creative chef by the name of Tony came up with an enriched brioche dough flavored with candied fruits and raisins, which was later known as Panettone. That's right, it became so popular that it's now a signature cultural cake of Italy.
To understand more about vegan egg replacers in brioche dough, we first need to understand what eggs are doing in this type of yeasted bread. Eggs are a leavening agent, so when we add eggs to dough, it allows the bread to rise very high because of those leavening powers. Eggs are what we also call emulsifiers, so they can help bring ingredients like fat and water or our hydration together in a homogeneous manner, which helps improve texture. Eggs tenderize the dough, giving our bread a soft crumb that also helps with moisture retention. The first egg replacer that we'll be using for our brioche dough is a combination of potato protein 300 and xanthan gum. The potato protein provides a leavening function just like our eggs, giving a nice puff and rise to our dough. Potato protein is also an emulsifier, so just like the eggs, it's going to help emulsify all that butter into our dough. Combined with the xanthan gum provides moisture retention and will allow the dough to keep nice and moist and keep a tender crumb.
What I do is start getting all my wet ingredients into my bowl. Now I have my vegan egg replacer here. Just give it a good stir, make sure that everything is well combined. Now to that I have some unsweetened plant milk. We also have some vanilla extract and some orange blossom water, which is optional. Glucose syrup. Now the glucose syrup is going to give you a really soft crumb to your panettone, and it also extends the life of the product as well. And this recipe calls for a poolish. So there is a video in your dashboard of how to prepare a poolish. It is a pre-fermented dough. It's going to add a lot of flavour to our panettone and again extend the life as well. Okay. Now we're going to add our yeast, so you can add your dry yeast or fresh yeast. I'm using fresh yeast today. Okay, now we're going to start adding our dry ingredients. We have some white caster sugar. It's just a soft, strong flour. If you can't get soft, strong flour, just use a bread flour or strong flour. Because we are making this dough into a chocolate version, we have replaced 5% of our total flour weight with some cocoa powder. And of course, some salt. Now we're going to add the zest of one orange, or you could also use a lemon or any type of citrus fruit that you like. And last but not least, we have some softened margarine that you can also add. If you'd like your brioche to have an authentic buttery flavour, you can also add some butter aroma at this stage. Now we're going to use our hook attachment and get this onto our mixer and start mixing on a low speed until everything just starts to come together into a dough. So our chocolate panettone brioche dough has been mixing for a few minutes, so everything is starting to come together. Now I'm going to actually switch my hook now to the paddle attachment, because as you can see, this dough is actually quite wet. It's a lot more wet than our traditional brioche dough. Now I'm going to go in there with my bench scraper and just scrape down those sides. We want to make sure that everything is incorporated, everything underneath is incorporated. And we're going to put on our paddle attachment, and we're going to mix this on a speed 2 for about 8 to 15 minutes. It really just depends on your dough. And we were looking for a 75% gluten structure or until we can do a window test. Okay, so we've had our dough mixing. It's been mixing probably for about 10 minutes, and you can see that it's actually started coming away from the sides, and we're developing some nice gluten structure, so I can stretch it out and do a window test so I know that it is ready. So we're going to get this back onto our mixer. I'm going to slowly start adding our second measurement of our vegan butter or our margarine, and it's a little bit more for this panettone recipe. So we're going to turn this on to a low speed, and about a tablespoon at a time we're going to add it to our dough and slowly start emulsifying into our main dough. So you may need to scrape down from time to time off your paddle attachment, but just slowly keep on incorporating your vegan butter. Once your brioche dough and all of that vegan butter has been incorporated, we are going to get this off our mixer now. Once your dough's in your container, we're just going to do a few coil turns. So you just pick up the dough from the center underneath, and so we're just folding the dough underneath itself. Okay, so once you've done a few of those coil folds, we're just going to put the lid on, and this is going to go straight into the refrigerator. We're going to pop this into the fridge now. Okay folks, it is the next day. We've had our chocolate panettone brioche dough cold proofing in the fridge to develop all those lovely flavors, and we are using some really unique mix-ins for our chocolate brioche dough. So I have some chocolate chips here, and I also have some almond paste, also known as marzipan, and I've just chopped it up into small pieces. This is just one that I got from a grocery store, and I just put like a tablespoon of confectioner sugar in there just to prevent them from sticking together. See, they're like nice little chunks. So we're going to be putting those into our dough today. This on your bench. You want to lightly grease it with some vegetable oil. And we're going to start stretching this dough into like a skin. So I'm just going to start pressing it out. It will be a little bit firm once you take it out of the fridge, but it softens up very, very quickly. and back into our container. Now we're going to do a couple of coil folds or coil turns. So I just like to pop a little bit of that vegetable oil on my hands just so they're nicely greased up and not going to stick. And we're going to scoop underneath that dough and just let gravity stretch that gluten in the dough and fold under, and then turn that over. And we're going to make sure we do that on the other side. And our other side here. So just let gravity pull down your dough under, like so. You can kind of see how it's folded. And then we're going to pop our lid back on and then set that aside for another 45 minutes. We've had our dough resting for 3 hours, and we did our coil turns or folds every 45 minutes. So it's now ready to scale our dough. Now I'm making 3 small panettones. So we're going to scale this at 600 grams each. So once you have your 3 pieces of dough, we are going to do a couple of our coil folds again. So just lifting up, letting gravity do the work, and then turning it over. And sort of just tucking everything under. There we go. Now we're going to go back to our first piece of dough and just start rolling it into a bowl, tightening it up using our dough scraper. Some skewers into these, so because after our panettone is baked, we actually have to hang them upside down. It's because that dough is so soft, we want to make sure that it keeps its shape. So to do that, you want to get some skewers. Now you want to get really long skewers, so see these ones, how they're like really, really short, and I find these ones are far too short. I was able to find these at my local dollar store. They're actually dowels or like just sticks of wood. So you can use something like this, but you just need something to pierce it through. So I'm actually going to just use this one. We have our skewers or dowel into our panettone case. We can start putting our brioche dough inside. So just make sure that you've got it in a nice ball, and then we're going to carefully just lift that up and then pop it inside. Okay, so all our panettones are in their cases. Now I'm going to pop these into my proofer. You do want to make sure that you're proofing these below 27 degrees Celsius. Or if you don't have a proofer, you can just pop these into a large box or just kind of cover them so they don't dry out. And we want to proof these until they double in size. So we've had our panettones hanging upside down on their sticks overnight, or at least for 12 hours. And that's going to allow the bread to firm up a little bit. So it's going to keep its shape and actually grows a little bit as you hang them as well. But we're going to start cutting into one of these now. So if you do want these to last a long time, you're making a lot ahead of time, you can actually freeze them at this stage. Wrap them up well, keep their sticks on. And then when you're looking to thaw them out, just thaw them upside down with the cover on. And this is actually going to allow all the moisture to go down the bottom. But let's cut into one. We're going to remove our skewer. Just give it a twist. Beautiful. You can see the pieces of marzipan in there and the chocolate studded through. I'm going to cut this again so we can do a check. Wow, smells amazing, guys. Take that paper off. And you'll see that it has this kind of stringy like texture. That's exactly what we're looking for. And wow, look how soft it is. It should kind of come off in strings like so. I'm going to give this a try. Delicioso.